Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3969BN. Today's date is August 12th, 2026, and the title of the episode is, Did Trump Have a Secret Meeting? Obama Panics. Trump Got the Nuclear Dust. Treason. Now, did you know a new survey found that 1 in 3 Americans feel most self-conscious about their body at the beach? More than anywhere else, summer is here. The trips, the pool days, the photos are already happening. And if you've been eating better, cutting back, generally trying, but cravings keep taking over no matter what, that's not you being weak. Your hunger hormones are working against you. This is why I'm obsessed with GLP-1 Elevate. Instead of a pharmaceutical override, it uses clinical studied plant-based ingredients like metabolate to naturally restore my body's own hunger control signals. In clinical studies, it raises GLP-1 levels by 56% and cut calorie intake by 20%. No prescriptions, no needle, just quieter cravings, real fullness, and a body I'm actually proud of this summer. To kick off summer, get 51% off only at trimwithx22.com. Every order comes with free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Once again, that is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, they are definitely now feeling the pain. The fake news, their heads are spinning. They have no idea what's going on anymore. And all their made-up stories, well, they're hitting the wall, and no one's really believing them now, because think about what is happening. All the evidence now is pouring out, and the people are seeing what the deep state players have done, what the fake news has done. And as more evidence comes out, the people are going to learn who the treasonous people are. These people right now are feeling pain every step of the way, and it's going to get worse and worse as time goes on, because again, once the people know that they were all involved in having a coup, releasing COVID, laundering money, you name it, the people are never ever going to forget. And that's the whole point of this. Remember, Trump has been creating the counterinsurgency. Obama created the insurgency to infiltrate this country and change the fabric of this country. No, he did not work alone. There were other people that were working with him. And Trump created the counterinsurgency, which is the executive branch, the presidency, the military, and we the people. He's bringing we the people into the fold right now. We the people are starting to learn who the treasonous actors are. And this is just going to get worse and worse for them, because again, you have to remember, Trump is gathering the evidence against all these people and showing it to the American people. And think about what he just did. We know there's a story out there, and Trump confirmed it, where they took him from Air Force One and he went onto a catering truck and he boarded a different plane. And of course, the fake news, they were all pissed off about this, because why didn't we know about this? Well, it's not the job of the United States Secret Service to tell every single reporter who's going to blab it to everyone else about what Trump is doing. But again, think about what just happened right now. The Washington Post reporter just told our enemies how it's done. Now the United States Secret Service has to change all this up. So they're the ones who are the problem. But when Trump switched planes, where did he go? Did he just land where he was supposed to go, or did he make a pit stop? Because a lot of people said, look, he just came out from the plane and no one was the wiser. It doesn't mean Air Force One flew directly to the location. Did Trump meet with someone maybe in Syria? Because there's a report right now that he just collected the nuclear dust from Syria. Remember, Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the rest, they sold uranium-1. There was a site in Syria. There's also a site in Iran. If they both have the same isotope and it's traced back to the United States, which I do believe it will, and everything then points to Obama and Hillary Clinton, it shows that they're treasonous to this country. So think about this for a second. Think about what actually happened. Now, the fake news, the D's, and everyone else is looking over there, while Trump did something completely different. Sometimes you have to meet certain individuals without anyone knowing. Again, remember, this is the biggest sting operation the world has ever seen. And the people are gathering the evidence right now because it's being produced for them. Because what is this all for? It's for accountability. It's for justice. Is this going to happen before the midterms? No. We don't have that leverage yet that we need. The leverage that we need is we need the judiciary. We need to remove the rest of the corrupt players that the deep state players have been using. We need the lawmakers on our side. And I do believe once Trump gets this, he's going to be going after all of these people. Why do you think all the evidence is coming out right now? He's prepping the American people right now for what is to come. You have to remember, the American people, every step of the way, they're going to get angrier and angrier and angrier. And the people of this country are going to demand justice in the end. Trump wants this to come from the people. He wants to show the people, look what they've done. They've done this against not just the sitting president, because, again, he's always said, I'm just in the way. They're really after you. They've done this to you. They decided they were going to choose who was going to lead this country. The deep state players decided that they wanted to hurt every single person in this country just so they can have their person in power. Think about what they've done here. Crime of all crimes. And this is what Trump is now showing the people. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to believe this right now. I'm sure you can speak to some friends and family members and they don't believe it. But as time goes on and more evidence comes out, and you see more texts, more documentation over and over and over, it's going to be very, very difficult to say this didn't happen. And you're going to get a lot of people talking. Remember, Trump has been setting this up for a very long time. This is the biggest sting operation the world has ever seen. And he had to do it in a way where he actually trapped the deep state players in their own agenda. And that's exactly what he did. Everything that they tried to use against Trump, he trapped them in all this and gathered every single piece of evidence against them. And every time they did something, he collected that evidence. And now it's all going to be used against them. I mean, think about COVID, for example. We mentioned this yesterday. They overthrew the United States government. They overthrew the duly elected president. They took the reins on COVID. Everything that they did goes back to them. Every cover-up, every email, every text is under the Biden administration, the administration that overthrew the United States government. No, I'm not saying he was alone. Of course, we know he was not. This goes back to them. They're the ones who did all of this. And they're the ones who told the social media platforms to censor people. They're the ones who told everyone that the vaccine was safe and effective. They're the ones who lied to the American people. They're the ones who said that the elections are completely and utterly secure. It's the safest, most transparent elections we've ever seen. Remember, they're the ones who said all of this. They're the ones who are spouting the lie every single day and shutting those people up that wanted to tell the truth. And yes, Trump will start to make the connections, and he'll bring in Obama. He'll bring in Hillary Clinton. He'll bring in all of these actors, because once again, he's going to show you who was involved, who was orchestrating it, who was responsible for all this. And you have to remember, this is not just against the Republicans. What they did was against the entire country. And the entire country is going to turn on these people in the end. That is what we're going to witness. And you can see that every step of the way. What are they trying to do? They're using their judiciary to try to stop Trump or stop we the people. But again, Trump is counting on this because he knows the law is on his side. And if he brings it up to the Supreme Court, he knows that the ruling will be on his side, on we the people side. And like I said many, many times before, he's building this incredible firewall for the future, because every ruling means the deep state players cannot use this against us again. That's what that really means. So when you have all the rulings against all their gun control laws, all their rulings against everything they put into place, they can't do this again. Like all the rulings they issued against Trump deporting the illegals. He's getting the rulings on his side. So if they try to do this again, it's not going to work. It's already set in stone. So he's setting up this system for the future. So if they ever try to do this again, it's going to be very, very difficult. And yes, once we get control of the lawmakers, we're going to be putting laws into place, maybe even amendments that is going to stop the deep state players in the future and the central bank system from ever coming back into this country. We'll be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about the illegals that are in this country, because we could see the deep state players, they're still using these fake stories and trying to convince everyone that these are, a Colorado man, a family man. And again, they use this terminology to convince you that, yeah, they're here legally. They're just family men. They're just people in this state. No, they're illegals in this country. Long time, first time says, ICE detained family driving home from church, separate both mother and father from children. Leave 3 youngest in custody of eldest daughter who turned 18 yesterday. It hurts. Why are we leaving daddy? Little girl cries. Stop to buy new shoes as a treat for first day of school. Homeland Security says on August 9th, Border Patrol conducted a vehicle stop and arrested Abraham Domingo, a criminal illegal alien from Guatemala charged with domestic battery, and Maria Levia, an illegal alien from Guatemala ordered removed by an immigration judge. These illegal alien parents willingly chose to break our nation's laws and, as a result of those choices, are responsible for what happens to their children, just as any U.S. citizen parent who breaks the law is when they are taken to jail. Absolutely. So if you have a U.S. citizen family and the parents decide to rob a store and they have little children, what do you think is going to happen? If the parents decide to murder someone, what do you think is going to happen? So it's the same thing with the illegals. There is no difference whatsoever. And of course, the deep state, the D's and the fake news, they're trying to, go to your heartstrings, trying to make you feel bad for this. But again, these people knew exactly what they were doing. Just like if someone robs a store, they know what they're doing. If they decide to murder someone, they know what they're doing. If they decide to rape someone, they know what they're doing. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. And once again, this is not working well for the deep state players or the fake news because the people are continually calling them out on all of this. Now, the other thing that we could see is that everything the deep state players have put together over a very long period of time where they're trying to get the weapons away from the people, it's all starting to fall apart right now. You have to remember, Trump and team, they created the Second Amendment division of the DOJ, which is supposed to support the Second Amendment and go after those states or any law that violates the constitutional right of every single person in this country. And what's very interesting is that Gun Owners of America, they actually got a ruling from a judge where the National Firearms Act of 1934 doesn't apply to silencers, doesn't apply to short barrel rifles. And it seems as of right now, the DOJ right now is not looking to appeal. They still can, but they have until 12:01 a.m. And if they do not appeal, then the law goes into effect and anyone can go buy a silencer without filling out the paperwork for the ATF. All you need is a background check and you can get the silencer. If you want a short barrel rifle, you can go in and you can just fill out the paperwork to get a background check and you get a short barrel rifle. Now, you also have to remember there are state laws that apply to all of this. So if you're in a state that says right now short barrel rifles are illegal, well, it's going to be very, very difficult for you until that law is overturned, which I do believe in the future it will be. But if you're in a state which allows short barrel rifles, you don't have to get the pistol brace anymore. And you don't have to fill out extra paperwork. You don't have to register it. It doesn't go into a database. All you do is get a background check and you get the gun. That's it. But what's very interesting is that the Gun Owners of America silencer shop, the AK guy, West Verdell, Texas, have officially notified the ATF DOJ of our intent to transfer suppressors tonight at 12:01 a.m. Central Time, August 13, 2026, without complying with the currently enjoined requirements of the National Firearms Act of 1934. Now, again, if the DOJ does nothing, this is going to happen. So those career DOJ attorneys, they are now favoring an appeal to defend the statute. Now, those are people still part of the deep state system, but you could see Congress, I think 50 congressmen and women, decided to tell the DOJ, do not pursue this whatsoever. They wrote a letter urging the DOJ not to appeal, to apply the ruling nationwide in practice and begin rulemaking to rescind the challenge regulation. So right now, as of right now, the DOJ has not done anything. So let's see how this all plays out, because this would be absolutely amazing. And then we're going to start to see other gun control laws start to be removed, because I do believe the next part of Trump's presidency, you're going to see the DOJ, the Second Amendment division, start to make moves on all the states that have violated the constitutional rights of every single person. So everything's going to start to shift right now, which is going to be very, very interesting. And like we said from the very, very beginning, the deep state players, as everything is being unraveled and their system is being exposed and people are starting to understand that they're treasonous to this country, the deep state players, they're going to start to fight back in other ways. I do believe they're waiting for the midterms, and once they realize that they've lost the midterms and they've lost their power, this is when I do believe they're going to make their move. And it looks like the FBI, every step of the way, is trying to mitigate what they're going to try to do. Because the FBI Cyber Division put this out and said, Gunra ransomware is targeting victims across multiple sectors, including government and critical infrastructure organizations. Gunra actors use a double extortion model, encrypting victims' data and threatening to publish data, stolen data, unless a ransom is paid. So the FBI, CISA Gov, DC3 Forensics, NSA Gov, Secret Service, and the Republic of Korea's National Police Agency have issued a joint cybersecurity advisory detailing Gunra ransomware and providing detection and mitigation guidance to help protect at-risk organizations. So for those people that don't know what this does, it basically encrypts everything so you don't have access. So they have been targeting healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, transportation, government, utilities, and others across multiple regions of the world. So Gunra ransomware, it has the ability to disrupt or effectively shut down operations at critical infrastructure organizations and U.S. agencies. How is it done? Well, do they need like a specialized ICS destroying malware to do this? To shut things down? No. All they have to do is encrypt the IT backbone of hospitals, utility manufacturer, or transportation operator, and that is enough to halt or severely degrade critical services until systems are restored. This is exactly why they're warning everyone about this and telling them, listen, you need to patch, you need to make backups, you need to make sure that your systems are secure, because they know that this is out there and they know what it can do. Now, once again, when you hear cyber attack, it doesn't mean that, oh, there's a massive attack, like a DDoS attack. Advanced cyber attacks today don't really need to do that. A lot of it is done in different ways, maybe using an AI agent, maybe using encrypting technology like this to shut down the systems. So you don't need to see this major attack anymore like we've seen in the past. Some systems already have maybe a malware or an AI agent already embedded in it where it could just be woken up and it could do the dirty work. And I think what the FBI and the other agencies are doing right now, they're trying to mitigate this as best they possibly can. And I think this is why Pete Hegseth has started Cybercom 2.0. But we'll have to see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. And like we said from the very, very beginning, the deep state players, especially Obama, he's feeling pain. He's panicking right now because what did Trump just do? Basically, he got the nuclear dust from Syria. We have to remember, we've known that there was a second site in Syria where uranium-1 was moved into. Iran got uranium-1. North Korea got uranium-1. Observing Consciousness put this out and said, boom, we called it. The uranium is the signal. Time to take the narrative to the next level. Trump just locked down Site 99, a covert Syrian cache holding yellow cake and radioactive residue from the North Korean-built AI Kibar nuclear program. Israel was preparing to strike. Turkey was suspected of moving toward the material. Trump froze the board, forced an agreement, and put the IAEA in position to remove it under international chain of custody. That uranium is evidence. Its composition identifies where it came from. It records, reveals who handled it. Its route exposes who financed, protected, and moved it through Syria, North Korea, Iran, Russia, and sanctions architecture surrounding them. This is the sequence we map: pressure, access, seizure, verification, receipts. Secure the uranium before it disappears. Preserve the trail before another strike destroys it. Follow the material until the entire network comes into view. The deal is the mechanism. The uranium is the proof. Accountability is the destination. So think about it. Trump just made a deal with Syria to get this material. Now think about where he might have flown off to and where he might have met someone maybe to discuss this. Let's go back to post 1306, April 30th, 2018. What if uranium-1 material ended up in Syria? What would be the primary purpose? Sum of all fears? In the movie, where did the material come from? The U.S. So right there, you could see that Trump, he got evidence against Obama. Now, when you start to compare that evidence with North Korea, the uranium that they have, which I believe probably Trump already has that, and once he gets a nuclear dust from Iran, and you start to put all this together, all of a sudden you start to realize, wait a minute, this came from the United States. How did Syria get it? How did Iran get it? How did North Korea get it? Who sold this to them? How was it transferred? This is what people are going to find out. And again, this is why Obama is panicking right now. We'll be talking a lot more about how Trump switched planes in secret and why he might have met with the leader of Syria. But first, we could see as of right now, Trump and the United States is in complete and utter control of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran, all they have left is propaganda. That is it. And basically, the countries right now, they're building pipelines away from the Strait of Hormuz. So the leverage that the deep state, the central bankers had, is disappearing. Rod Martin says, as I've said from the first time, Iran's Hormuz leverage is a wasting asset. Every day more oil gets through and more pipelines get built to render Hormuz permanently irrelevant. None of that hurts a peaceful Iran. But for the Islamist region, it takes away the only leverage they had, the leverage they threatened but never tried to use for 47 years, not until now. It has added a $10 to $20 per barrel risk premium to the global price of oil for half a century. They controlled the price. Do you think the deep state, the central bankers, wanted the price kept up? Absolutely. Do you think they wanted a decentralized energy structure? No. So now Trump is removing this. This is going to remove the $10 to $20 per barrel risk premium. Think about that. And also think about how the oil is going to be decentralized and there's going to be a glut of oil. Removing OPEC, removing the price structure, removing the amount that each country can produce, removing the sanctions from Russia. Trump already did it to Venezuela. Let me continue. Within 18 to 24 months, that will be gone forever. This was not the moment Khamenei planned to use his leverage. He imagined he would build 20,000 ballistic missiles, including ICBMs, that could hit the U.S. with the nuclear weapons he spent Iran's entire economy to develop. At that point, he imagined correctly that he could take whatever he wanted, and no one could do anything about it. That's why Trump struck exactly when he did, and that's why he was right to do so. Iran was always going to be messy. There's a reason all Trump's predecessors didn't take them on. But they've lost, as surely as the Nazis had lost after the Battle of the Bulge. There's more war to be fought, as there was at the beginning of 1945. But while the details are yet to be decided, the outcome is not at all in doubt. Absolutely. And really think about why the other administrations never wanted to go after Iran. Because, once again, they were part of the system. They had no problem going after Iraq. They had no problem going into Libya. They had no problem going to Syria. They had no problem going into Ukraine. But why do they have a problem going into Iran? Because that was part of the system, part of the deep state central bank system. They wanted the centralized control. They wanted the premium. They wanted to centralize energy. Because, again, they created the petrodollar. Why do you think we went into Libya? Why do you think we went into Iraq? Because these countries said we don't want to sell the oil using the U.S. dollar. The deep state players forced them back onto the U.S. dollar. They wanted to sell the oil via their own currency. Well, this would destroy everything the deep state players have set up to keep the central bank propped up. So this is why Trump is in there. This is why nobody else wanted to, because he's dismantling what they put together. And think about what's holding up the Iran peace deal. It's the factions within Iran, Joe Lange explains. Within Iran, there is a real fight going on between the IRGC and Hezbollah holdouts and the leaders who want a deal. Listen to what Trump says. He's sending a very public message to Iranian leadership. Time is short. Choose a side. Trump purposely uses the term decapitation. As I've been saying for years now, Trump is following the same playbook from the past. How did Trump get a peace deal with the Taliban? By headhunting the leadership. After hunting down and killing about 80% of the Taliban leaders, the other 20% took the deal. Why? Everything changed when Trump became president. The game was over. Trump took off the gloves of the military, and there is nowhere to hide when they are on the hunt. Same thing happened in Syria. That's why the leader of Syria is now an ally with Trump instead of being a member of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The leaders in Venezuela took the deal and gave up Maduro because they were next. Cuba will do the same after Iran, and they will make a deal. Trump has killed about 3 layers of Iranian leadership and just warned the 4th layer that they're next. Time is almost up. It's not a coincidence that Hamas is now wanting a peace deal too. All the CIA dark money streams have been cut off. There's no more financial support. There's also no protection from anybody. If Trump gives the green light to eliminate them, he's going to eliminate them. We learned that in Trump's first term. The biggest reason we have the Abraham Accord and Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas on their last leg is because Trump pulled the trigger on Soleimani. Soleimani was the handpicked leader of all the Middle Eastern terrorism and wars. He was also part of the protected class and traveled freely throughout the Middle East under the radar. Trump cut the head off of the snake in the Middle East, and everyone at the time thought Iran would go to war against us, but it didn't happen. Why? The whole world knows Trump isn't playing games. CIA shadow government games are over. Iran will make peace, and Trump knows it. Now, this doesn't mean that Trump is not going to hit him again, because, again, there's a battle going on inside Iran. Trump has all the leverage, and all he has to do is take out the last part of the leadership to force the others to make a decision. And this is definitely what's going to happen. And he let the world know that Iran, I said this yesterday, that Iran has no control over the Strait of Hormuz. Never did. Because if they did, they'd be bringing ships in, they'd be selling their oil. They wouldn't close the Strait of Hormuz and make their economy suffer and make their wells dry up. It makes no sense. They wouldn't do it to hurt themselves. And if they did, that would be incredible because Trump wouldn't have to do anything. So who really has control of the Strait of Hormuz? From the very, very beginning, Trump has always had control. And he finally let everyone know that. He says the USA has total control of the Strait of Hormuz. I think we'll keep it. Our naval blockade is being called by everyone a wall of steel. And there's nothing Iran can do about it. They have no navy. They have no air force. The remaining soldiers are unpaid. The IRGC is decimated and fleeing, and their leadership is uncertain at best. They have no money. Their country is shot. All they have is fake news and 300% inflation and getting worse. Iran is all talk and no action. The bully of the Middle East is no longer, praise be Allah, President DJT. And that's absolutely true. They have nothing left. They're not going to close the strait and not sell their oil. It makes no sense. Any ship that tries to get through, why doesn't Iran let them through? Why does the United States Navy say, no, you're not going in. If you try, we will hit you, just like they did with one of the ships. And they never made it. Again, the propaganda coming out of Iran, it's all fake. Now for a paid advertisement from Rumble Wallet. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. And once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning it. And to make it easy, just go to the QR code and go right to Rumble Wallet or click the link in the description. And Trump just let everyone know we're in full control of this entirely. And think about what Trump has done. He's removed the choke points that the globalists have set up around the world. Remember, the globalists are into what? They're into centralizing everything. So if you have choke points, you can control everything from a central location. If you remove the choke points and you let the countries do what they normally do by having competition, you decentralize everything. Observing consciousness says What we are watching is the systematic bypassing of globalist checkpoints, the ports, pipelines, shipping lanes, processing hubs, and the financial gates they wrapped around the world's natural resources to manufacture scarcity, manipulate prices, and hold entire nations hostage. Geography gave them narrow passages. They built engineered dependency around them. Hormuz for oil, Suez and Bab el Mandeb for trade, Panama for maritime flow, Russia for European gas, China for critical minerals processing. Control the gate, control the supply, control the supply, control the price. Control the price, control governments and people. Trump is breaking that architecture apart by opening resources, ending conflicts, sitting above them, building pipelines, railways, tunnels, and ports, then creating multiple protective routes to market. Every bypass strips power from the gatekeepers. CCP and City of London feel the pain. This is the dismantling of engineered scarcity, replacing a global system built to extract, manipulate, and control with a sovereign circulation network designed to keep energy, minerals, food, and trade moving. The world-controlled civilization through checkpoints. The emerging world routes around them. Trump has now removed the globalist structure. That is what this is all about. And yes, he's going to continue to do this because, again, we're setting up the United States to be the world superpower. And when I say superpower, in manufacturing, in energy, in technology, we're breaking free of what the central bank, the deep state players have kept from us. We're going to see a country where its infrastructure goes far beyond any country. You're going to see technology like you've never seen before. You're going to see an economy that benefits you every step of the way. Poverty is going to start to disappear. Crime is going to be gone. Yes, you'll still have some criminals, but not like what we see today. Cities are going to be cleaned up. They're going to be absolutely beautiful. This is the golden age. And this is why Trump is in Iran. This is why he went to Venezuela. This is why he's going to deal with Ukraine. This is why Cuba is going to be after that, because he's basically dismantling everything the deep state, the central bankers have put together. They will have no power, no leverage. They will have nothing left. Remember, his entire administration, everything that he's been doing was to do what? It was to take the power back. Now, if you thought the power was just here in the United States, you're missing the big picture. The power was spread across the globe. The power is the central bank system. The power that the deep state played is their corruption. Their power is the money laundering across the globe, drug running, you name it, human trafficking. He's removing all that so we can take back the power. And think about how they took our power. They moved manufacturing. They moved energy production. They moved everything out of this country. He's bringing it all back. And the deep state players, they tried to stop it. They tried to stop we the people. They actually went out of their way to hurt the people of this country just so they can stay in power. They didn't care who died. They don't care who gets sick. They just don't care because they're criminals. Remember, the deep state players installs the criminals into these spots in the federal government. They run the criminal enterprise. That's their job. That's what they do. And they don't care if they lie right to your face because criminals lie right to your face. They don't care. So if you're trying to figure this out, why would they do this? They're criminals. Why would a criminal rob a store? Why does a criminal rape someone? Why does a criminal murder someone? Because they're criminals. All the deep state players did was bring them into government, put them on the local level to carry out their agenda. And they have no problem lying to you over and over and over. I mean, think about what happened during COVID here. Mike Benn says, Jeff Zients, the guy who pardoned Fauci, was the main social media censorship coordinator using the power of the White House to threaten big tech companies if they didn't censor U.S. citizens who questioned the Biden admin's COVID policies. Mike Benz responded to this and says, the guy who actually pardoned Fauci was the same guy who got you censored for questioning Fauci. Think about that for a second. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. And you can see the World Health Organization, they are now panicking because, think about this, the evidence now is coming out about COVID, what it's all about, who created it. how it wasn't as real as they said. The WHO, they went along with this, and a lot of it was actually in Ukraine, where they actually formulated a lot of this. And all of a sudden, a World Health Organization warehouse in Ukraine was struck and destroyed, according to Tedros, the Director General of the WHO. Now, Ukraine came out and said, it's Russia. Tedros never said that. And there is a community note on his post saying that missing context, it was Russia. The Russian army destroyed the warehouse. Well, first of all, there is no evidence for that whatsoever. The only evidence that Russia did it is coming from Ukraine media. There is no forensic details. There's no independent technical proof. There's absolutely nothing. So ask yourself a simple question. Why would Russia, if they discovered the biolabs, why would they then destroy the WHO warehouse? Wouldn't they want to keep that intact? Who would want to destroy the WHO warehouse? Oh, those people that were involved in COVID, those people that were involved in gain of function. So do you really think it was Russia, or do you think it was Ukraine, the deep state players, who actually destroyed the warehouse? Think about it. Now, the other thing that we could see is the WHO, they're getting very, very pissed off and angry at RFK Jr. Why? Because they don't like that RFK Jr., and the election wizard put this out, is reconsidering American childhood vaccine schedule, claiming it defies decades of evidence. So the WHO is saying, listen, we have all this evidence from pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies did the peer review, and they say it's safe and effective, and there's absolutely no problem. So why are they getting so pissed off at America? I mean, look at Europe. Do they follow the same schedule that the Americans follow? No, they don't. They removed all these vaccines. So why isn't Tedros going after the European Union over and over and over and over? Because the European health authorities reject the same peer-reviewed evidence on vaccine safety, efficacy, timing, or immune response that the WHO cites. Isn't that interesting? So why in the world would the deep state players want everyone in this country to take a vaccine when they're a baby? Because it weakens the population. You ever hear of autism? Because again, it makes people weaker. It gives them ailments. A lot of the men become autistic. So if you have a weakened, ill population, is it a lot easier to take over? Absolutely. You have to remember, Europe, most of the people, they continually go along with their installed leaders until the very, very end. Americans are very, very different. Americans push back very hard. But if you weaken them, if you brainwash them, if you keep them drugged up, well, this makes it a lot easier for the infiltration to work, and it makes it a lot easier to take over the country. And this is why we see the WHO so panicked, because their entire agenda is completely and utterly falling apart. And I wouldn't be surprised if they destroy some other locations that just like we saw out in Ukraine. Because again, when everything's starting to fall apart, you got to cover it all up. And you know what always gets you? It's the cover up. Now think about what else Trump is doing right now. He's now instructing Dr. Oz to make sure that Medicaid is no longer funding gender transition surgeries. He put this out on Truth. He said, today at my direction, Dr. Mehmet Oz announced that Medicaid will no longer fund gender transition surgeries and hormones for minors. We're not going to pay for our innocent children to undergo these barbaric surgeries and practices, which result in unthinkable and irreversible harm to their young bodies. Thanks to our strong position and pressure on this issue over the past year and a half, dozens of U.S. hospitals have already ended this so-called gender-affirming care, and we expect many more to follow. Just think about all of the young, innocent, and perhaps confused children who'll be spared, while the Democrat Party wants your kids to be able to chop off their reproductive organs before they're old enough to vote. President DJT, me, and the Republican Party say that is absurd, and we will protect Americans' children. Please remember this when you are casting your vote in the midterm elections in November. Thank you for your attention to this matter, this very important matter, President DJT. And he's absolutely correct. I think what's going to happen as we look back in time, we're going to say, how did anyone ever allow this to happen? How did we allow doctors to perform these type of operations? How did parents, how were they convinced by psychiatrists or psychologists? How did we allow this? Just like we're looking back at COVID right now. How did we believe that masks worked when they didn't? How did we believe that 6 feet apart worked when it really didn't? I mean, not everyone believed it. But yes, when you look back in time, that is the question everyone is going to ask. How did we allow the medical community to disfigure our children and hurt them for the rest of their lives? Unbelievable. And the other thing that's unbelievable is we see drugs coming down in price right now. Trump started Trump RX, and it is working, which means more money is going back into the people's pocket. Trump War Room put this out and said, prescription drug prices are falling because President Trump is cutting out the middleman, lowering costs, and putting America patients first. Absolutely. And think about it. We were paying for the drugs that those in Europe were getting. Same thing in Canada. This is why people go, oh, look, socialism is great. They got cheap drugs. No, everyone in the United States was paying for their socialism, paying for their drugs, paying for their colleges. When the money is no longer flowing there and they have to make up the difference, let me know how well it goes out in the European countries or in Canada. It's all going to start to fall apart. Remember, everything was set up to benefit socialism in these countries. We, the people, were paying for all of this. And think about it. The deep state players, they want to do this here. And Trump is showing everyone this is the direction they want to go. They want to go in that direction. Actually, even worse, communism. And you can see everything that Mamdani is doing, it is now backfiring on him. And if you look out in New York, what is happening right now? Well, it looks like Manhattan rents reach all-time high at $6,655 a month amid Mamdani's rent freeze and his tax that he's threatening. Awaken Outlaw says, I see Mamdani's communist concrete paradise is coming to fruition. Good work, Mayor. And this is what people are going to experience. And it's going to get worse and worse as time goes on. And think about it. Half of New Yorkers, and a poll was done, oppose the DSA movement. So the people are not going along with this. I do believe that this is probably even higher than that. Nobody wants communism. Yes, maybe the far, far left. But again, look what is happening. Everyone is going to start to turn on Mamdani because, again, the state is going to go down the tubes. It's going to get worse and worse before it gets better. And the people are going to see this. And the people are going to say, we've had enough. Even those individuals who are expecting free things, it's not going to happen. And they're going to suffer too. And they're all going to turn on Mamdani. It's going to be a complete and utter disaster, just like it's a complete and utter disaster for Tallarico. Remember when they said, oh, look, Republicans now are voting for Tallarico because Republicans are for Tallarico. There's a whole group called this. Well, that's another scam, by the way. There are no Republicans for Tallarico. When you start to look at the people that are in that group, well, it looks like those people that MSN Now put out there, they've been donating to Act Blue. They're Democrats. That's who they are. Again, they're trying to trick the people once again. They're trying to convince everyone, oh, the Republicans are turning to communism. No, the Democrats are pretending to be Republicans. But when you look at where the money actually is and where it's going, you start to find out, wait a minute, you donated to the Democratic Party. You donated to Act Blue. You're a Democrat. You're not a Republican. So that is completely and utterly falling apart. And you can see the Democrats, they're panicking right now. Remember, the election system is a rigged election system. It's an illusion. If you think the elections are up on the up and up, they're not. So the poll numbers really aren't going to make that much sense, actually, if you really think about it. And if you get rid of the rigging, all the poll numbers that you have today goes out the window. I mean, perfect example. All you got to do is look at Wisconsin. Remember, the deep state players, the Ds, they're realizing that, wait a minute, Trump pointed out that the D Party is the Communist Party. And the D Party are starting to realize, wait a minute, we can't allow these far, far left crazy people to get into office because this would destroy us. We need to stop this. We need a couple of moderates in the D Party because if we allow everyone to be far left, everyone wanting communism, everyone talking crazy, like all of these people, it's going to be a complete and utter disaster. So what did they do? Well, using their rigged election, They made sure that Francesca Hong didn't win the election. So basically, 5 USB sticks went missing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And they found them. And you know what they did? They went ahead and they fixed the data, uploaded it, and all of a sudden, socialist Francesca Hong just lost by a few thousand votes to David Crowley. You think they just cheated? And Wokeness says 5 USBs had missing election data. 2:20 a.m. ballot dump from Milwaukee. Francesca Hong, who would have lost to the GOP in November, defeated by 4,000 ballots. How convenient. They were so panicked, so afraid, they used their cheating system to get this person out. That's what they did. And remember, each and every one of these individuals, they are installed in these positions. That's what they use the elections for. No one's choosing them. They're installed. How do we know this? Well, Jen Psaki told us. The Vigilant Fox put this out and said, Jen Psaki admits on MSNBC that the Democratic Party leadership used to select the nominees and nobody was allowed to say it out loud until now. Psaki said, we both remember well when party leadership really selected the nominees. Now, you would never say it that way exactly, but they would. Now we can say it. We're free. They really did because they would put money behind it. They would endorse, and now it looks very much like party leaders are not picking the nominees. In fact, party leaders pushing nominees is a negative. The party that claimed to represent democracy never trusted its own voters to pick the nominees. So basically, they've always been installing the people. They use the elections to get the people that they want into position. And nobody's elected. They are installed. All you got to do is go back to the election in 2024. Did the people vote for Kamala? No, they chose her. If they had the ability to override Trump's votes that he got from the actual people, they would have had Kamala win. But they knew it was completely impossible. They could have done it, but everyone would look at the numbers and go, we don't have that many people in this country. That doesn't make sense. What's going on here? That's why they couldn't pull it off. And the Democratic Party, they're trying to convince everyone that they're capitalists. They're not communists. I mean, let's just call it they're communists. You could say socialists, you could say Marxists, but it's really communists. So Representative Jim Banks, and Libs of TikTok put this out, reveals a pledge was circulated to House Democrats reading, we are capitalists, not socialists. Only 10 of the 212 Democrats signed it. The Democratic Party is officially the Democratic Socialist Party. They're screwed big time. It's going to be a complete and utter disaster because now everyone realizes who and what they really are. And Trump is going to use this during the midterms. Every single candidate is going to use this during the midterms. There will be no escape. And think about it. As they use that narrative and Trump removes their cheating mechanisms, they're done for, period. Because you have to remember, they don't have the SPLC anymore, creating the races, creating the riots, creating everything. That is all falling apart right now. And the former SPLC CFO, Heidi Barrick, has been arrested on federal fraud charges over an alleged scheme involving donor-funded payments to informants inside white supremacist groups. And you have to remember, they created the white supremacist group. They paid them. They pushed the racism. This is what they did because it didn't exist. So they needed something, and now they don't have this. Actually, they don't have the money to do a lot. They will try, but they don't have that money that they used to have. Everything now is falling apart around them. And everything that Trump is doing, he's mitigating what they're going to try to do. And I do believe his last act is to secure the elections with voter ID, paper ballots, one-day voting, one way or another. And I do believe it will be done because every step of the way, you could see this is what actually shuts down their entire cheating system. I think he set it up that if he couldn't get the executive order, couldn't get the Save America Act passed, we would still have the leverage that is needed to override their system. Just like in the 2024 election, we still were able to win the election because the people voted for Trump. They couldn't use their cheating system to override the votes of the people. The same thing is going to happen this time around, but I think he's putting a lot more safeguards into place because he knows how important the midterms are, because we need the lawmakers on our side so we can finish the rest of the plan. And is the plan going to be finished in 2 years? No, I think this will go on for a little while because, again, you're undoing everything the deep state players have done. But he's going to move at lightning speed like we've never seen before, because you have to remember, he's also rebuilding the country. I mean, think about what he's doing now with the airlines right now. Right now, airline travel is a complete and utter disaster. And we're using old hardware, old software. And if you're flying anywhere, I think everyone knows this, it takes forever. You have to have connecting flights. You're always delayed. It's a complete and utter disaster. And it looks like right now there's going to be major hardware and software upgrades that are coming nationwide, meaning shorter flight times and fewer delays for travelers. Also, they've hired a lot of gamers right now to actually, and they're training them to work as air traffic controllers. And those people are going to be coming online. Because think about what they're putting into place. They're putting together an advanced system that will cut down travel time. Observing Consciousness says, these releases sound relatively insignificant on the surface. Peel back some layers and we see Trump is replacing the operating system of American airspace. Modern skies rebuilds the physical grid with fiber, satellite links, digital radios, and radar. Then airspace intelligence brings in the AI layer. Flyways AI fuses more than 100 data feeds into a live 4D model of the sky, aircraft weather, wind, airports, schedules, and available airspace, predicting choke points before takeoff, simulating the option and giving controllers the best route and timing adjustments before disruptions spread. This is the sovereign stack, modern hardware, unified data, AI decision support, one live operating picture. The system sees the bottleneck, models the outcome, moves traffic around it. The American sky just became predictive and commandable. And I do believe we're going to see travel time really start to drop. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more nonstop flights going to certain areas. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. And since we're talking about flying, Trump, it was reported that he basically went onto Air Force One, got onto a catering truck, and boarded another plane because there was a threat against his life. And it seems that they had certain intelligence regarding this. OSINT Defender put this out and said, new reporting sheds more light on why Trump was secretly removed from Air Force One in Ankara last month. U.S. intelligence reportedly picked up multiple streams of information indicating a specific surface-to-air missile threat against the aircraft carrying Trump. Someone near the NATO summit was also reportedly observed with a shoulder-fired missile. Even more concerning is that the U.S. officials say Iranian intelligence knew where Trump was staying in Ankara, including the floor of the building. The threat was considered credible enough to trigger an extraordinary deception. Trump publicly boarded the legacy VC-25A Air Force One, was secretly removed in a catering container, and departed Turkey aboard a C-32A. The VC-25A then flew on with senior officials, staff, and reporters aboard, creating the appearance that Trump was still on board. There is no public evidence Iran actually attempted to attack the aircraft, but the combination of potential missile threat and highly specific knowledge of Trump's location was apparently serious enough for the U.S. to treat the threat as real. The biggest unanswered question may be how Iran obtained such detailed information about the president's movements and lodging. Remember, we had a couple of days ago a report coming out of the fake news saying that China was sending shoulder-fired missiles to Iran that was going to assist them in the Strait of Hormuz. What happens if the deep state players were moving these shoulder-fired missiles and the deep state players were going to try to use it against Trump? Remember, they get the information of where Trump is from reporters on the ground. They're the ones who usually provide that information. And I do believe Trump most likely used what they were trying to do, even though they weren't going to do it because I think they intercepted all this, use this against the deep state players to actually go someplace else and speak with somebody else. But you can see the deep state players, they're all freaking out about this. Captain Mark Kelly, the individual that told the soldiers of the military not to obey Trump's orders. I mean, think about that for a second. He says the White House decided there was a threat so great that Donald Trump was secretly moved to another plane, but they never told the passengers on Air Force One. Cowards look out for themselves. Leaders look out for their people. Cynical Publius says the propagandistic American legacy media are not Trump's people. Those liars are your people. Absolutely. And think about this. The Trump Air Force One switch echoes a Clinton-era maneuver. But there's a key difference. One reporter has revealed that she was briefed prior to the ruse in 2000. And this is why you don't tell the reporters. This is why you don't give them information. First of all, this is a national security issue. They have no right to know this whatsoever. Vince Coglianese put this out and says, Susan Page just broke an off-the-record agreement with the Clinton White House to disclose that she was tipped off to moving Clinton to another plane in 2000. She says it's been long enough, so it's cool. Meanwhile, if the Trump White House did tell a reporter about this off the record, we wouldn't know about it so long as the reporter honors the agreement. Page didn't. And basically, Trump shut all of this down. How did he do that? Well, the reporter asked him a very simple question. Did you decide to move to another plane? He said, no. I go by the Secret Service. I go by the military. They said, sir, we'd like you to do this. I said, whatever you want. The reporter says, why was it too dangerous for you to fly on Air Force One, but not too dangerous for the press? Trump said, well, I think actually the plane that I flew on was at greater risk. I think it was at greater risk because that would be the plane. I think that they would be more likely to go for. Reporter, were you worried about a shoulder-fired missile? Trump, no, I wasn't worried about anything. I just do what they tell me. They're very good. Secret Service is very good and military is very good. Trump was asked about the decision and made clear that the choice of aircraft wasn't his. He says that's up to the Secret Service. Period. The end. You do what the military and the Secret Service says. So Trump had no say in this whatsoever. That tells you everything you need to know right there. But think about it. Who is the real problem? Well, it's the Washington Post and the author or the hacks that actually wrote this. Dan Lamuth, John Hudson, Andrew Bautrain, and Joyce Saihan Lee. They published the article. They basically tipped off all our enemies on how they shift everyone off the plane. So now, in the future, they'll be watching for this. So now, they just dictated to the enemy how this is done. This is why the Secret Service doesn't inform the reporters. This is why none of that is done, and they don't have to. Paul Florett explains, if you board Air Force One, you're a target. Reporters know this. They know that the president's life takes precedent. And if there is a legitimate assassination threat, they are not entitled to tell the press. Rubio was still on the plane, so the notion that POTUS left them out to dry is ludicrous. Once a threat was determined, the decision-making of what would happen was out of his hands and in the hands of the United States Secret Service and the military. They are more upset about military protocol under an assassination threat being followed than they are that there was a threat on POTUS. Let that sink in. And that's what they're more upset about. Every day you get on Air Force One, that plane could be shot down. The enemies watch. The enemies, they observe. And again, every time a reporter, anyone that gets on that plane, yes, something could happen. And they know this. But they're trying to make this into a bigger deal than it really is. You see, if you don't want to go on the plane, then don't go on the plane. You have a choice. You don't have to fly on Air Force One. And President Trump, wherever he goes, that is Air Force One. And the enemies are going to follow the president. So now, since the reporters told all the enemies on what Trump does now the Secret Service has to come up with a completely and utterly different plan. Think about that for a second. But where did Trump go? Did he just fly to the next location, or did he make a pit stop? Joe Lane says, timing. Why is he saying this? Well, John Solomon says Trump administration negotiates removal of nuclear material from covert Syrian site. So let's see. Did he meet with the Syrian president? Did he make the deal? Did he meet them so they can get the nuclear dust? Joe Lane says, I just posted why I think Trump deceived the media and secretly left Air Force One on a catering truck in Turkey. He needed to meet someone face to face in secret with nobody in the media knowing about it. And this is why the media is really angry, because they want to know what really happened. They're out in the dark. They have no idea what's happening. I speculated it might have been Netanyahu or the new leader of Syria. Turns out it might be both. The story's a huge deal. The focus will be on Syria's secret nuclear program, and they've even mentioned help from North Korea. But do you know who isn't mentioned? Iran. Who else isn't mentioned? Obama, Hillary, and Uranium One. We're getting the uranium dust from Syria and eventually Iran to prove that Obama and Hillary committed treason by arming our enemies with nuclear weapons, material, and technology. But it's bigger than that. They were both puppets controlled by Prince Alawid. Obama served 8 years infiltrating our government with Muslim Brotherhood members and sympathizers while doing everything he could to divide the country and destroy the Constitution. Hillary was supposed to serve the next 8 years, further destroying the Constitution, taking away the Second Amendment, and getting us into a nuclear war with Russia, destroying both countries. It was Alawid's 16-year plan. It would destroy Saudi Arabia's two biggest competitors in the world for oil production. At that time, Alawid's puppet was next in line for the throne in Saudi Arabia. Hillary was never supposed to lose. Trump changed everything. Trump allied with MBS in Saudi Arabia, who removed Alawid's puppet, Naif, and became crown prince. MBS arrested him and all his puppets in Saudi Arabia shortly after. And the day is coming when his puppets are going to be arrested too, Obama and Hillary Clinton. They used the Uranium One deal to ship yellow cake uranium to both Iran and North Korea. Iran had a secret nuclear weapon site in Syria. They were developing the dirty bomb that would be detonated in an American city and blamed on Russia, triggering nuclear war. Trump is gathering the uranium dust that can be forensically traced back to the Uranium One deal in Syria. He will soon be collecting it in Iran. And most people don't know that Trump already secretly collected it in North Korea after they made a peace deal. Treason is a capital offense. Many associated with Obama and Hillary are targeted. Absolutely. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he went. Think about that for a second. Absolutely incredible. And this is why the fake news is really upset. Because you have to remember, they have no security clearance. They're not getting the leaks they had before. They're kept in the dark. They have no idea what is going on. And this is just going to get worse and worse for them as time goes on. Because as more and more of the leakers are removed and the sleepers are discovered, all the intelligence that they used to have, they don't have it anymore. They're not getting it from the FBI. Remember, this is FBI 2.0. It's not 1.0 anymore. DHS 2.0, DOJ 2.0, CIA 2.0, ODNI 2.0. They're not getting anything from the executive branch. Trump has that control. And you could see that Jeanine Pirro, it looks like she might be going after the individual that cut up the reflecting pool. Or maybe there's another reason for the grand jury. Tony Saruga put this out and said, Pirro, in a rare move, convened special grand jury in Washington. Unlike typical grand juries, special grand juries focus on a single case or related cases and can issue a report following their investigation. The Justice Department has convened a special grand jury in Washington, a rare legal body that officials say could pave the way for federal prosecutors in the nation's capital to investigate some of its biggest and most controversial cases. Unlike a typical grand jury, a special grand jury can release a potential critical report about the subject of an investigation, even if prosecutors do not find enough evidence to bring the person to trial. D.C.'s special grand jury is to be overseen by Stephen Vander Velden, one of U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's top allies in her office, according to 3 government officials familiar with the matter. So is this about going after the individual that vandalized the reflecting pool, or is this for something much, much larger? Very interesting. But you can see the New York Times reporters who got the Pulitzer-winning prize on Russiagate, which was a hoax, they're now panicking because the evidence is coming out, and they realize it's just a matter of time before the Pulitzer Prize, the fake prize, is taken away from them. Paul Sperry put this out and said, desperate to keep his Pulitzer Prize-winning Russiagate hoax alive and salvage his February 2017 howler, Trump aides had repeated contacts with Russian intelligence. New York Times' Michael Schmidt, also known as Mr. Nicole Wallace, is now rewriting history to claim Trump may still be compromised if only an FBI counterintelligence investigation into Russia ties hadn't been killed. His new straw-grasping rationale is that Mueller let the CI probe fall, by the wayside to pursue crimes as if CI cases don't result in criminal charges. Earth to Schmidt, declassified FBI investigative files reveal that May 2017 case targeting Trump was opened under criminal espionage statutes. Nice try. Maybe your keepers, Comey and Richmond, can feed you some better information. Absolutely. And think about this. Just go back a little bit in time. August the 17th put this out and says, remember these? These are from Trump, going all the way back to 2022. The special agent just fired by the FBI is the same person who traveled with Bruce and Nellie Orr to the Czech Republic in February of 2016 as part of their campaign to get Trump. At that time of the trip, Nellie Orr was employed by Fusion GPS, which became well known for creating anti-Trump propaganda for use by crooked Hillary Clinton and the Democrat National Committee. And here's another one from 2023. The FBI special agent who was in charge of the fake Russia collusion witch hunt just pled guilty to conspiracy. What a disgrace. They knew I was innocent all along, and yet we went through hell and back to get the no collusion finding from Mueller. Do I get an apology from the FBI and DOJ? What we have exposed about our country is incredible, and there's going to be a lot more evidence coming out. Trump was right all along. And think about what happened when Biden was in office. It came out, and John Solomon put this out, that Operation Round River was ongoing during the Biden administration, and now it's exposed. The White House Government Transparency Task Force released documents newly declassified by President Trump that reveal secret operation by the FBI and spy agencies to neutralize the Biden family corruption scandal during the 2020 election. Think about that for a second. So basically, they were using FBI 1.0 and the spy agencies to shut down anything that had to do with Biden. The White House says the evidence released today shows the FBI had at least 14 confidential human sources reporting derogatory information on Joe Biden. FBI analysis during Round River went into some of their files and marked their intelligence as Russian disinformation to discredit it. We'll be releasing thousands more pages on this operation in the weeks ahead. Director Patel has offered to take the unprecedented step of releasing the actual evidence that the confidential human sources were providing the FBI. We are grateful for such transparency. Absolutely. So FBI 2.0 is exposing what FBI 1.0 did. Think about that for a second. Remember, Trump controls the executive branch, and the executive branch is going after the criminal syndicate. The criminal syndicate ran the FBI 1.0. They no longer exist. They ran DOJ 1.0. They no longer exist. They ran CIA, ODNI, DHS 1.0. They no longer exist. So as of right now, you can see they're going to keep bringing this information out, and they're going to continually to show the people of this country what really happened, who the players are, what they did. It's drip, 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 then flood. Remember, most of the people deny this. Most of the people don't want to hear it. But as the information continually comes out, they start to accept it. They start to digest it. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. And you can see the deep state players, even Fox News, they're trying to still convince everyone that Trump is really unpopular. Joe Lane says it really wasn't that long ago when we were being told that Trump was really unpopular and the Democrats are guaranteed to win the House and might win the Senate at the midterms. Fox News is still pushing the narrative with their bullshit polls. But look at reality. The Democrat Party is underwater in the polls by 24 points. Why? Because their candidate are Nazi rapists, Muslim Brotherhood-backed terrorist supporters, and radical communists pretending to be socialists. Their plethora of DSA candidates aren't their only problem. Their bigger problem is the guy behind the DSA movement who they can't shut up. If you listen to anybody in the Democratic Party with an ounce of political sense, you don't just see panic, you see outright anger at Hassan Piker, who has become a millstone around the entire party's neck. These longtime Democrat operatives and defenders are livid to see what Piker is doing to their party. And again, as Trump removes the cheating mechanisms, these people won't win at all. And again, the fake news does what they do best. They keep the polls very, very close because this is what they've been instructed to do, to make it seem like the Democrats have a chance or the Republicans are gaining. They keep them even, so this way their cheating system works every single time. and they keep the polls even with the cheating system. I think this time around, everything is going to start to turn around, and people are going to start to realize the polls don't even match up anymore. Because when you remove the cheating and the illusion of elections, you remove all of that, you see the truth. And think about it. They keep saying that Trump is losing the base. Well, in Wisconsin, every single person that he endorsed won. Think about that for a second. Yes, I know some of them might be unopposed, but think about his record right now. If it's true that Trump is no longer popular, you would see others losing. His record would be terrible, but it isn't. That should tell you everything you need to know. And this is how desperate and panicked the deep state players is. Obama Judge Talawini has now expanded the block on key parts of President Trump's executive order in the mail-in voting. Yes, they don't want the United States Post Office delivering the mail-in ballots because you have to show that these people live at the address. You have to show that they're citizens, and they only get one ballot and per person. So think about that for a second. This is not what the deep state players used to do. So they're using their corrupt judges to delay all of this. They know it can't be stopped, so they're going to delay it. They're trying to run out the clock. Can they delay it to after the midterms? That's what they're trying to do. So the Trump administration, they are now pressing the Supreme Court to swiftly reinstate Trump's election integrity executive order and to clarify that its decision should also lift Judge Talwini's new nationwide injunction blocking the proposed USPS mail ballot rules. See, the deep state players, they know they can't stop it. All they can do is delay it. And once this goes up to the Supreme Court and the ruling is for Trump, well, this shuts down everything in the future. Remember, every step of the way when Trump brings all these cases to the Supreme Court because he knows the deep state players are going to sue, he's creating a barrier, this firewall for the future. Because now you're going to have all these Supreme Court cases to say, no, this Supreme Court case was decided, you can't do that. Oh, wait, this gun, no, I'm sorry, the Supreme Court case says you can't do this. Deporting illegals, oh, I'm sorry, this Supreme Court case says you can't do this. Every step of the way, this is what Trump is doing. And this is going to stop the deep state players in the future with everything else that he's going to put into place. When you really start to look at this, you could see those criminals, the treasonous people of this country, they're being exposed. The people are starting to learn who they are. The evidence is being collected. And people are going to see that they've truly committed treason against the people of this country. And this is all being prepared for after we win the House and the Senate. Because once we do that, we will have the power to put the judges in place, and we'll have the evidence completely and utterly out there to show that these people committed treason against this country, the duly elected president, and the people of this country. And they will be brought to justice. Why? Because the patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.